Yes, Vivziepop's humor. Another common debate amongst fans. I hear a lot about this topic in general, from her humor being poorly written to being sort of offensive. However, I made a video a few weeks back about how I kind of hate her humor and how it's a little annoying with the constant swearing, referring to her over-reliance on swearing. Also, how she uses the fact that it's an adult cartoon to justify the overuse of swearing. But that's not what all this video is going to be about, since I already covered that. Since we all know that already, and I'll just be beating a dead horse if I bring it up again. Now today I want to discuss a much more controversial aspect to Vivian and her show's writing is her humor regarding SA, in both Hazbin and Helluva Boss. If you don't know what SA is, I suggest you just click off now, since I'm not getting more detailed than that. No, it does not mean Sonic Adventure, as much as I would love it to. I'm going to go over some instances of this kind of humor, my thoughts on it, and online reactions towards this type of humor from Vivian, her two shows, and answer if it does go too far or not. If you like these videos, hit that subscribe button. I do Hellverse content every single week. So, that's a plug. Thank you. Serpentious joke. I already mentioned this joke in Is My Vivziepop a Bad Person video that I did a few weeks back, like I mentioned. But I will go over this here. In the Prime series of Hazbin Hotel, the characters all go to a club. Serpentious, as we all know, has a crush on Cherry Bomb, and I can't blame him for it, especially with that Aussie accent. I like Aussie accents on women. And his poor attempts of raising her up is actually pretty funny. But that's not the jokes in the show that people aren't the biggest fans of. Later in the episodes, asks Cherry Bombs to bang. She basically asks him why they would ever even do that, because it's Serpentious. I mean, look at him. Nah, he's not that bad looking, guys. And I guess to make his suggestions seem more inclusive, I suppose, he yells out that he is truly offering to bang everybody in the vicinity, for some reason. After this exclamation, he is dragged into a room against his will, and we all know what happened to Serpentious here. It's not rocket science, guys. This wasn't swept under the rug. This wasn't something that went over anyone's head. We all know what happened here, and it was pretty bad. This was played up for laughs, however, not everyone's laughing. Actually, a lot of people were kind of annoyed at how this was used. What's my thoughts on this quick gag humor in this particular instance? Yeah, I agree with some of y'all 100% on this. This joke was really unneeded, and it was really distasteful. Not only could the episode could have gone well enough excluding this whole joke, it ultimately does not add anything to the plot at large. Hey, look, this is hell, and it is an adult cartoon, so look, haha, I've seen Deadpool once before. Look what's happening to Serpentious against his will. You got right, guys? Isn't that so funny? For what? A quick laugh? I feel Vivzie put this joke in here to make herself laugh, while everyone else was sitting there watching, just really feeling bad for Serpentious here, since he really doesn't do anything that bad. He's kind of a joke villain. Like, he's trying to be bad, but he's really not so much of a bad guy. Like, no one deserves this, but stop doing it to characters that don't definitely deserve any harm. It feels a bit ignorant to the real-world problem of SA many people have faced and continue to face this very day. Just really feels distasteful. Is it worthy enough to hate Vivian or stop watching? In my opinion, no, not at all. But if you don't want to watch the show anymore for the potential of these jokes, like this coming up again, then that's your right, and I really wouldn't entirely blame you for that. It just depends on the person watching, or whether or not it actually bothers you or not. For me, it kinda does. Veronica harming Moxie. Now, I'm being very vague with these statements just so it doesn't pick up any YouTube demonetization things. I'm not monetized yet, but I will be. Now we go to Helluva Boss, where something very similar did happen, but this time to Moxie. Again, I'm reiterating from the last video, because we all love Moxie torture, don't we? Anyways, this incident happened in the third episode of Helluva Boss Spring Broken, in which Veronica Mayday is mad at Blitzo for supposedly being a terrible partner and having an unhealthy obsession with him long after their relationship ended. And remember how I just said she's mad at Blitzo, not anyone else at IMP? Just keep that in mind as I continue. During the scene where Blitzo and Veronica argue yet again, Moxie tries to go into the room to reason with them, like a nice guy. He's just trying to be the middleman here. But he should have known that there's no reason with Veronica Mayday, since what does she do? Oh, that's easy. She SA Moxie with all her friends to, I guess, get revenge on Blitz. Yeah, because that makes sense. Instead of attempting to harm the actual guy you're mad at, let's just assault his employee. Yeah, that's how we're going to stick it to the man. Does not accomplish anything towards your goal of getting revenge on Blitz, you ignorant, narcissistic, moronic character. But what angers me the most is just how forced this funny joke is. It's so forced. Moxie has nothing to do with Veronica and Blitzo's constant beef and got roped into this mess. Also, there's absolutely nothing this quick gag humor adds. Like, what is this adding here? Are you trying to show the audience how much of an arrogant jerk Veronica is? Well, that can't be the case, since in Apology Tour you try to convince us that this hypocritical bird brain little prick is a victim as well as Verasika. So which is it? Is she a jerk who just essays people for fun? Or is she a victim of Blitz and we should feel bad for her? It literally makes no sense. It was only there to make people who find essay jokes funny. Well, I'm sure you got your laughs, since I and most others didn't. It's still funny how Verasika Mayday victimizes herself in these episodes when she literally essayed somebody she barely even knows and has no involvement with her relationships or her beef. Okay, now the essay gag humor, I will admit, does get pretty annoying in these shows. However, there are two ways the Helluverse handles this topic. The first way is what we just went over, that being it used as quick gag humor to make very ignorant individuals laugh. That does not need to add anything to the plot and story in any meaningful way, and it's just intended to be quote-unquote funny, but in the reality it's just disrespectful to real victims of this really real-world issue. Second way it's used in the show is that of being tied to the plot, which I can slightly let pass, such as Valentino being an awful antagonistic jerk, but his misdeeds are tied into the plot, that being his abuse of Angel Dust throughout the Hazbin Hotel Prime series, and it helps develop Angel's friendship with Husk, that being the two of them are owned by someone under a contract, and they are bonded in their similarity in that fact of Valentino being a complete scumbag towards Angel, and is honestly important to Angel's development despite it being dark. So it has significance to the story, so it's not pointless, it's not forced, it's organic. However, the same simply cannot be said for when it's used as a quick joke, and random main characters being essayed out of the blue because, haha, isn't it funny to see two characters do very little bad to begin with get essayed? I know many of you may say it's just a joke in the cartoon, at the end of the day. That is true, but I really feel it needs to be dialed back at least a little bit, or flat out excluded, because these jokes aren't adding anything. Maybe use it to spread awareness, or make the topic be taken more seriously. But the way it's used here as humor feels really disrespectful and ignorant. Also, like it's watering down a sensitive subject that many people face. Also, it's not helping that the joke feels forced, almost like they were put in there to make Viv laugh behind the scenes in the writer's room without considering if it's pushing it a bit too far. I get it, it's an adult cartoon, but there are certain lines that need to be drawn. So after we reviewed a couple of the instances of this kind of humor in the Helluverse, as well as how it contrasts towards when the topic is used in a storytelling setting. So let's answer the question, does this sort of humor in Vivzie's shows go too far? And by two shows, I mean Hazbin and Helluva Boss. I want to say no, but it is getting dangerously close to that territory. Is it pushing it severely? Yes, but I don't think it has fully gone off the deep end yet, though it is getting close to be fair. But I honestly would suggest Viv, if she's listening to this, which I doubt, to dial back this kind of humor in your show, or at least use it for storytelling purposes like you do in Hazbin, and maybe shedding some light on this serious subject matter in a mature and serious way, not as cheap humor that just feels flat out disrespectful to real world people. I'm not even a victim of this sort of thing that this joke is trying to portray, and seeing this in a show where you're trying to escape reality in the first place and forget about your troubles for a bit, only to be brought back to this scary subject matter and memories for certain people, I don't think Viv means anything malicious with the jokes that she's putting in her show's writing, so please go easy on her. All I suggest is her to dial it back a little bit more, or just flat out exclude it, and be a little more considerate when writing about serious subject matter in general, especially a scary subject like this. Those are just my thoughts on this kind of humor in the Helluverse. I know you guys wanted me to give you my opinions on how she writes these kind of jokes. Do you think that this kind of humor in Vivzie's shows goes too far, or is it really just not a big deal at all and doesn't really hinder your enjoyment of the show? Let me know down below. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. This is me, signing off.